Chris Licht out at CNN. So what's it all about? Here's the deal. CNN did not want to do objective journalism, and Chris Licht was critical of CNN to the extent that they were doing kind of partisan advocacy journalism rather than what would be traditionally known as giving the news. However, ultimately, the staff at CNN did not want adult supervision, and they rebelled and they gossiped, and it was kind of like a case of Mean Girls. It all goes back to this Trump town hall event. In this town hall event with Trump, he came off fairly well and intended to buoy his campaign. Let's take a look.
You held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to you. You're a nasty person. I'm telling you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating and we were talking.
In that clip, you could see that Caitlin Collins was fairly aggressive with Trump. So I don't really know what CNN's problem is. Like, how much more unpleasant does Collins need to be until they're satisfied with the event? Because I felt like it was inappropriate the way that she kept coming at him. And the fact that Trump called her nasty was not like a great zinger or anything, but I think Trump was just frustrated. Like, he basically said, let me answer the question. And she refused to stop having these kind of catty remarks towards him. So that was kind of ugly. But otherwise, I mean, it was a decent showing for Trump, and he acquitted himself well. And that's why the staff at CNN is so angry, because they feel like they inadvertently helped the Trump campaign. Well, look, the guy's running for president, and he's most likely the Republican nominee, so they still think of it in terms of, well, you're platforming this dangerous person. Chris Licht is more of a normal, he's a Democrat, I'm sure, but he's kind of more of a normal guy who is willing to, give a hearing to the other side. And based on the moderator and her comportment, it was hardly a fair hearing at any rate. And in that view, Christiane Amanpour said, I still respectfully disagree with allowing Donald Trump to appear in that particular format. So this is the kind of thinking of the august news anchors at CNN that, it was inappropriate to let Donald Trump speak. It's like, well, 3.3 million people tuned in. It's pretty much the only successful thing that's happened on CNN in a long time. To be fair, though, for the last year, reportedly CNN has had pretty low ratings with Chris Licht at the helm. And I think that the reason for that is probably the audience for CNN at this point is the most hysterical leftists. And they don't particularly want to see this kind of course correction that Chris Licht had in mind. So it's really an example of audience capture, where as CEO, Chris Licht could not bring it in a more kind of ethical direction with more journalistic integrity, because the audience was already accustomed to this advocacy partisan style of news, and the people that work there likewise saw it as a mission to stop Trump, and to the extent that the town hall was against that mission, that's why they rebelled. So it's really quite silly. Molly Hemingway had an astute comment on this. In a tweet, she said, "It is absolutely crazy that the COVID hysterical, fake Russia collusion hoaxers at CNN ran out their new boss because he tried to make them mildly care about real news instead of Democrat narratives. Just crazy. Corporate media simply can't be fixed, sadly." And I think Molly Hemingway has it right that, as I said, you cannot course correct because apparently the audience doesn't want it and the people that work there don't want it. So we have kind of a broken media environment that cannot be fixed. And we can come at this story from one more angle, which is the journalism surrounding it. For one thing, there was the Atlantic article, Inside the Meltdown at CNN, which, again, it was like Mean Girls gossip. But I also read an interesting editorial in the Washington Post that was in response to these events, and the way that the journalist interpreted them was interesting and kind of appalling. So the WAPO article by a guy named Perry Bacon chalked up the failure of Chris Licht to what he called anti-wokeism among, quote, powerful white men who live on the coasts. So in Bacon's view, you have these white men, a group which is, highly resented, especially by the kind of CNN crowd. But like they're Democrats, they're liberals, but they're just not quite where, Bacon and the kind of the Twitter mob would like them to be. So Licht is guilty, supposedly, of being a centrist, whereas to my mind, I imagine that he is solidly on the left, but he's just not crazy on the left. And he does not perhaps sign up for the critical race theory version of the left. And this is why he garnered so much resentment. Because what the left wants again is advocacy journalism. And another media figure that is mentioned in this Washington Post editorial is Chuck Todd. And to me, Chuck Todd is a very odious person who is a Democrat Party bot. He's like a bot, an attack bot for the Democrat Party. That's how I think of Chuck Todd. But amazingly, to the Twitter leftist mob, Chuck Todd was not enough that way. Like he was too centrist once again, and he's also guilty of being a white male. And so those two things go together in the minds of their critics. When Chuck Todd kind of did his send-off of Meet the Press, he said something like, I'm not going to give in to the partisans or the advocates or the propaganda. And when I first heard that, I said, there you go, Chuck Todd. You're taking shots at conservatives, and just to the bitter end, this is your attitude. But after I read this weird op-ed, I thought, oh my God, Chuck Todd was actually addressing his crazy leftist critics who say that he's not woke enough. And I'm not even sure why they say that. I think every once in a while, maybe Chuck Todd would gently criticize both sides, and for that, it was unforgivable, apparently. So it's just funny, and it's amazing the perspective that some of these people are coming from. And meanwhile, it's like I think even the Washington Post's own readers are not quite on board with wokeism. And I know wokeism is such a loaded term, but like I don't care. I think wokeism is what it is. I mean, we all know what it means. So here's from the comment section of that same article that was castigating white male centrists who are liberals but are not woke enough and they need to shut up, is basically what the article said. So here's the comment. Wait, people actually use the term birthing people to describe women who have children? No wonder Rowling was getting it in the neck, if that's all she was trying to argue. No wonder the GQP, who should be extinct in any sane country, is still a competitive party. So I thought that was such a funny comment on the article, because clearly this person is on the left. Like, they're kind of part of that hysterical Twitter leftist group. Because I say that, if that sounds unjust, I say that because she said GQP, like the GQP. I hear that a lot. So even that person, that lady, whoever he or she is like, you know what, I actually agree that wokeism has gone too far. And maybe that's why you see Democrats looking for alternatives like RFK. People are just flailing around like, a lot of people don't like Republicans, but they're not happy with the excesses of the left. And I think Chris Licht is a victim of that. So that's my take. My name is Michael McCara. Thank you so much for watching. In the description, I have links to social media, and I have an article on this topic on my very popular blog too, if you'd please check that out. And above all, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
I've only heard what love can do, and now I'm getting love from you. Make your vows, Make your vow.